I was like kind of really hinging on if I was going to continue watching Star Wars or not, because I've been kind of falling out of love with Star Wars, and Skeleton Crew has kind of brought back that love and that wonder, and I'm just very excited to keep watching the show. Hello there. How are you doing? My name is Crystal, like the Kyber crystals in Star Wars, and I talk about Star Wars and some other fandom related things. If you are interested in any of those things, then you might want to check out some of my other videos, or maybe subscribe. Hang out with us in the comments. We have a lot of fun here. If you're ever curious to what makeup I'm using, I'll have it listed in the description down below. We just got our first 2 episodes of the Skeleton Crew on Disney Plus, and I will say that I am enjoying the show a lot more than I expected. I think for me personally, and maybe for a lot of you, but how should I say this? There was like a lot hinging on the Skeleton Crew for me personally. And I was kind of like, okay, well, Skeleton Crew sucks. Like, I'm kind of done watching Star Wars shows. I've been kind of like falling out of love with Star Wars. And it's been a really big bummer because it's been my whole personality. But I am very pleased to report that I love Skeleton Crew so far. It's hard to make like a big general statement, but I think these first 2 episodes are doing things really, really well. And we're going to get into those things in a minute. Our opening scene starts with a pirate attack on a New Republic ship. I really like that this is the opening shot because it really kind of sets the tone for the show. And we start off with like some really fun pirate action. I'm gonna open my Star Wars ColourPop palette. I haven't opened this yet. I was saving it to do like a eyeshadow review, but I've had it for months and I have not opened it. So I don't even know what's in here, but I'm sure we can use it. Oh yeah, we can definitely use that. We're gonna go into Jedi Knight. If you guys want me to review this palette, let me know in the comments and I will. What I mean by this really sets the mood or sets the pace for the show is it's an action-packed scene and someone gets shot in the eye, like in the eye. The first time I watched it, I was like, wait, did he get shot in the eye? There's just aliens and creatures everywhere, and I've said it so many times on my channel, but I am here for the aliens and not like humanoid creatures, and this show is giving that to us. We get our first look at the Shistovanian, which is like the wolfman creature, which he looks so cool. He's probably my favorite character design. He looks like menacing, scary, he sounds scary, he looks scary. And then we meet our captain Silvo, who I'm pretty sure is Jude Law. The captain did the crew dirty, gets him thrown in the brig. It's mutiny, as they say. There are a lot of other really cool things, a lot of things that we haven't seen in Star Wars when the pirate ship attaches to the other ship and then you have the pirates on their zip lines attacking the ship in that way. I thought that was so cool and very pirate-like. I thought that was cool. It was pirates in outer space 100%. After our pirate attack, we get to meet our kids, our main characters. We're first introduced to Wim, who I think is so relatable as our main character. Wim just wants to do his own thing. He is just a daydreamer. He wants to be a Jedi. He wants this great adventure. He also has an emotionally absent parent who is just a single dad who works so hard and loves his kid and never stops. He's a survivor. But you know, his dad is trying his best. I was also laughing at all the attitude that he was throwing his dad because that is also very relatable. Also, was that gray milk? Because that didn't look blue. It looked gray, which I'm a little bit concerned about that. And then we're introduced to Neel, Wim's best friend, who they probably have been neighbors or grew up in the same neighborhood their whole lives. You know, they're both not the cool kids. Neel is my favorite character so far. He is just so cute and so wholesome, and I love him. I'm interested to see where Neel and Wim's relationship goes because it's pretty obvious that Wim is kind of just being selfish in his relationship with Neel. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what point are they going to have like conflict and then how are they going to like come back together, be cool with each other again. We also meet KB and Fern, who I love Fern. I knew I was going to like her right away. I think that she's very spunky. She's a little bit of a bully, but I think she has like her own issues to work through. And I think by the end of the show, she's going to soften up a little bit. We also find out that Fern is the top of her class. Like she's a little smarty pants, but she just acts really tough. I like that she he has like this really big imagination and tells stories. And I think that the reason why her and Wim don't get along is because they're so similar. And then we have KB, who I really want more from this character. I would say out of the 4, she's the most underdeveloped. I think the show does really good with the writing of these characters. These characters feel so lived in, and I think that is attributed to the writing, the directing, and the acting. The director did such a good job getting these performances out of the kids. There's a lot of like these micro expressions between them, which I find so interesting. I also feel like whoever wrote the show really kind of understood kids. There's so many moments that I'm just like, wow, that is so real. That is like exactly what a kid would do. For example, when they went to go dig up the ship or the Jedi temple, Fern was like, my Jedi temple, because I called unclaimsies. And then Wim was like, you can't call unclaimsies when the claimer isn't here. And then they're like, okay, well, claimsies. And then Neel was like, they called claimsies. It checks out. So stupid. That's like kid logic. And the boys get tricked into digging for the girls while they just stand there. Oh, I did have a point to make about Fern and Wim. I think that Fern has a crush on Wim because when KB is messing with the 2 boys outside of the Jedi ship and she uses her voice modulator to be like, oh, answer the question or die. And the question is, who do you have a crush on in school? And then KB is like, sorry, Fern made me say that. I'm like, why would a girl want to know? Like, why is that the question? Why is the question, who do you have a crush on in school? Like, why did Fern make KB say that? And I think it's because Fern wants to know who Wim is crushing on. But you know, she's just joking. She's just messing with the boys. Also think that's why she's like so annoyed of him all the time, because she's just like a girl with these feelings that she doesn't understand. That is so like what you do when you have a crush on someone and you're like 9. Well, who do you like? And you like tease them about it. And she seems like that kind of girl. That's my prediction. She has a little crush going. I'm very excited about these characters, and they have a lot of room to develop and grow into better characters. Like, there's a lot of potential for a story arc within all 4 of them. I do want to talk a little bit about At Attin. The mystery of At Attin is probably the more surprising and interesting part about the show. The more it revealed itself, the more I was like, oh, there's something happening here. I will admit, I wasn't really into the idea of like suburbia inside of Star Wars. Like, it's just like a little too meta, and I was kind of like, I don't like this. During the first episode, I kept being like, something's weird about At Attin. Like, something's weird about this planet they're on. It's a little bit too cookie cutter. It also feels heavily surveillanced. There's droids walking around with like big cameras on their face, and I just got like such a weird feeling from the show, and I couldn't tell if it was just me because I already don't like the idea of like suburbia in the show, and I live in the city. I'm very much like city girl, so I was already wondering if I was already feeling like this oppressive foot of suburbia. But as the story kind of revealed itself, there was something weird going on at Attin. I thought it was weird that the kids had never seen the stars. Like, what? There's no ships allowed in or out? That's weird. Saying that they can't get past the barrier. What's the barrier? Why is there a barrier? And then we find out later that At Attin is called the lost planet of eternal treasure, and nobody knows where it is. The droid can't find it, and everyone thinks that these kids are just making it up. It's also interesting that these kids got on an abandoned pirate ship at Attin, the same thing that the pirates think is a fake myth. Like, I don't know. There's just something weird going on, and I'm really into it. This mystery is so much fun. So episode 2 picks up right where we left off. We meet a droid called SM33, so Smee. This is actually something that kind of bothered me about the show, is it was just, the droid is Smee, and he's like a pirate droid, and he has like a limp and talks with like a Cockney accent. Like, it's just so on the nose, you know? And I felt like there was a lot of things, like a little too much of them winking at us. We get it, we're watching a pirate show. R2-D2 doesn't mean anything. I don't know why we need to have like a droid name be so close to like something in the real world. It takes me out of it a little bit. But anyways, yeah, his name is Smee, or SM33, which I do like the droid and I do like the character design of him. I think that he's a funny character. He's just like an old drunk guy with a bunch of kids. They tell the droid like, yo, we need to get home. Like, take us home and take us to At Attin. And the droid is like, what are you talking about? But SM tells them that he can take them to like a port where they can get directions. So that's where they go. But he doesn't tell them that it's a pirate port because he's like, well, we are pirates. So why would I tell them that what they already know? So the kids get taken to this pirate port where it is just a place of debauchery. The kids get separated, and I think that we see a lot of really cool things. Like I had mentioned at the start of the first episode, when a pirate gets shot in the eye, we see that same pirate getting his eye worked on there. We also see someone getting tattoos. We see like these cute little fairy creatures. We get like a red light district. It's fun. It's really fun, and I think they did a really good job with the set design, the costuming, the makeup. All really works together to feel very alive. It doesn't feel sterile. It's dirty. It's lived in, and that's something that I really, really like about Star Wars. And that's something that I've been like very critical or criticizing towards Star Wars recently. It's everything just feels so sterile and clean, but not this. And if it was sterile and clean, it'd be completely wrong, which I know when we're talking about Star Wars, it is kind of wrong unless we're dealing with the Empire, but I digress. They did a really great job here. And I think they did shoot at the volume, which I think is unavoidable at this point, but they did a really good job at dressing it up. So the kids get split up, they get in a little bit of trouble. Neel and Wim try to pay for some food, and then they're getting taken advantage of from some other pirates. They are these big scary aliens, and then there's these two kids who don't know anything, these two little naive kids. They get chased, they meet back up with Fern and KB, and they're saved at the last minute by their droid SM33, who there's like some really cool moments there. SM33 is taking like blaster hits to his shield, and it gets hot from the blasters, and he like burns a pirate, which that was really cool. Our little skeleton crew is confronted by the Shistavanian and the pirates that we met at the first episode of the season. So it's kind of like further strengthening the idea that Jude Law is Captain Silvo. But they get thrown into the brig where they meet someone who says that he can help them. It's Jude Law. He uses the Force to help them, and it's kind of like unclear if he's playing like a trick on them or if he is actually using the Force. Either way, he's definitely doing it to manipulate the kids, but he could very much be like a Force user, a pirate Force user, maybe not a Jedi, but a Force user. He's a pirate captain trying to make his way through the galaxy, and these kids come along who say they're from a planet, treasure planet. He's gonna take that opportunity. That is where we leave off with the skeleton crew. So far, I'm very impressed with the writing of the show, which is something that I've been very critical about with Star Wars in the past. And so it's really nice to see like something done in a way which really highlights what the criticisms I've been saying about all the other shows that have been coming out. There's a lot of showing and not telling in this show, which I think has been kind of a problem in the past. And we're getting such good demonstrations of these characters with Wim, Neel, Fern, the droid, and it's not being told to us. Like, we don't need to be told that Neel and Wim are best friends. We know that just from their interactions, just from their dynamic. We don't need to be told that Fern is this complicated character. That we don't need that exposition, because we can kind of tell by her relationship with the people around her, how she treats KB, how she treats her things, how she treats the people around her, and how she's treated by her mother and by the other kids. I think with this overall mystery of At Attin, like I had said at the beginning when we were like in the suburbia, and I was just feeling really like, it felt very like off-putting to me. And I didn't know if that was like my own personal hangups about suburbia or there being a suburbia in Star Wars. But it turned out like that feeling was on purpose. It wasn't just because I was feeling it. It's because that's what the writers and the show intended. At Attin is supposed to feel weird. There is something off about At Attin, and we don't need to be told that, you know? I don't know if I said this earlier, but I was like kind of really hinging on this show, if I was going to continue watching Star Wars or not, because I've been kind of falling out of love with Star Wars, and Skeleton Crew has kind of brought back that love and that wonder, and I'm just very excited to keep watching this show. By the time I put out this YouTube video, I will have a reaction video. You can watch my reaction of the first 2 episodes over at Geeky Goods on YouTube. And I also will have done a live stream talking about the first 2 episodes with the Dork Force here on YouTube. So I'll have both of those linked down below. And I will also have a link to A+ Hero Reports. Well, I will be with them live every Wednesday talking about Skeleton Crew. I know I skipped over a lot of things. We had 2 episodes to cover, so I really kind of glazed over it. I didn't want this to be a super long video, but I would really love to know your thoughts. We can talk a little bit more in depth in the comments. I love to hear from you. I love chatting with you. And thanks so much for hanging out with me and talking about Star Wars. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and may the Force be with you. Bye.